Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, everyone. I hope you're all doing great today. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونتوب إليه اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. Today, inshallah, we'll go into the concept that we started talking about last week. My name is Imam Muhammad Amin. I'm the founder of Mahir Academy. And so we have different programs that will help to get students to learn to become fluent Quran reciters. And this is something that they can achieve in just 4 months. And so if you're interested in this for yourself, for a child, let us know. Comment Quran below. And so we'll reach out to you to give you more information about our program structure so you get to see how it actually works. And we get to share our system with you, the way we teach. We get to share our teaching strategy with you as well to see how it works, and so that you can on your own as well implement this to help your child perhaps to learn to read the Quran and fluently within a short period of time, inshallah. So today we start talking about the rules of Noon Sakinah and Tanween last week, and so we talked about a bit of the concept of Noon Sakinah and Tanween, going through the basics and talking about some of the basic understanding of what a Noon Sakinah is and what a Tanween is as well. So you see, something that's really important in learning Quran. Using my previous lessons, I've talked about different concepts of Quran learning. So I've talked about the major mistakes in Quran recitation and learning. And so when you recite the Quran, there are bound to be two kinds of mistakes people make. Of course, one mistake is worse than the other. So the major mistakes is forbidden. And it should be avoided. So like when you pronounce the letters wrongly, you mistaking the letter for another letter, or the sound is not pronounced correctly, or you pronounce a med where there shouldn't be a med, or you pronounce a tanween where there shouldn't be a tanween, or you pronounce a sukun where there shouldn't be a sukun. And these are things, or you pronounce a lam shamsiyah, these are not things that will be fine if you make those mistakes. They are not things that will be fine when you make those mistakes. And among the rules of recitation is the rules of tanween, that you don't want to mess up those pronunciation of the tanween. So tanween means something when you have it on a letter. When you have it on the word of the Quran, a tanween means something, and it has a purpose for why it's on that letter. And so if it's taken out from that letter, it changes the meaning of that word, or it might even changes the meaning of the entire Quran or the surah itself. So we're talking about the understanding how tanween looks like and how Noon Sakinah looks like. So if you're not in the class last week, check lessons that we did last week on the rules of tanween and Noon Sakinah part 1. Check it out, and let's see if you have questions. So we went deeper into the concept of ghunna. So we went from understanding and explaining the concept of ghunna, and also we talked about the concept of tanween. So we talked about the types of tanween or ghunna, and we talk about like tanween as a form of situation where ghunna is done in Quran recitation. So we've already went through the differences between tanween and Noon Sakinah last week, and we had a quiz for that matter in the class with the student that joined last week. And so there are two types of tanween and Noon Sakinah. They are like brothers and sisters. So a Noon Sakinah is a noon that's silent, and so three things that will denote silence of a letter in the Quran. So we have something we've learned before called the half circle sukun or the full circle sukun, or a letter will have nothing in general. So this noon here that have a sukun, we call it the half circle sukun if you watch back the lessons modules. And so it makes the sound of the letter get shortened. So the letters will shorten, the sound will not be out when you pronounce a letter that has a half circle sukun. And noon here also is a Noon Sakinah. It's also silent. It's not having anything. And there's different rules of pronouncing this kind of noon that has nothing compared to the one that has a sukun on top of it. And so we talked about it. A Noon Sakinah is a noon with a without anything or a sukun right above it. And so we talked about a tanween, that a tanween is when you have Noon Sakinah written as doubled vowel sound. So a vowel sound, we've learned that. Watch our previous lessons. So vowel sound is, we have two types of vowel sound. So you have a short vowel sound, or you have a long vowel sound like med. So the short vowel sound, the harakat, fatha, kasra, dhamma. So these are the short vowel sounds. So a tanween could be written twice, as doubled. So it's the same thing as Noon Sakinah, and they have the same rules of recitation in the Quran. They have the same rules of recitation in the Quran. And so let's check out one of the rules of Noon Sakinah and Tanween. So we're gonna talk about one of them today. And I think this is the most common one that people actually use oftentimes, the first rule of Noon Sakinah. So there are 4 ways of pronouncing words that have Noon Sakinah and Tanween in the Quran. There are 4 ways. And so today we will talk about Idgham. And so we're going to be having 2-3 series of these lessons on Tanween and Noon Sakinah. And even for our students in our accelerated Quran reading program or in the TSK classes, sometimes we take this topic for a whole month so the kids can practice, pronounce, and really put the lessons into practice, reading, homework, and all that. And so our program really have homework for students, and so they get to practice and really transfer the skills they've learned in their classes to independent reading practices, right? And so Tanween and Noon Sakinah are pronounced in 4 different ways. So we're going to learn the first type of ways in which they are pronounced. And what are those things that you see and how will they get pronounced, right? So we've learned about the Tanween and Noon Sakinah last week. So go back and check our video from last week. So the first rule of Noon Sakinah and Tanween is called Al-Idgham. Al-Idgham is when you pronounce the Noon Sakinah and the Tanween clearly. And so you reduce the Ghunna. The Ghunna is reduced. So you remember when we learned about Ghunna the other time, 2 weeks ago, we talked about incomplete Ghunna. We'll talk about, we have most complete, we have incomplete Ghunna, right? So these are incomplete Ghunna. So in terms of the Ghunna, normally Ghunna will go for 2 counts. Ghunna will go for 2 counts. So when a Ghunna is incomplete, it's probably just 1 count, right? And this is Idgham. And what happens when we have to do that in the Quran? So Idgham is one of the first rules of Noon Sakinah and Tanween that we learn, and it shows that how some words will get pronounced in the Quran if they have the Tanween. And so there are 6 letters that related to Idgham rules, and these 6 letters they will be used to guide us to see how we pronounce the letters using the Idgham rules that we learn here today. So Idgham is when Noon Sakinah and Tanween are pronounced clearly. That means to say you shorten the Ghunna instead of the Ghunna. Instead of them going for 2 count, they only have 1 count. So they don't go beyond 1 count, or it's called incomplete Ghunna. So in Idgham, what you will see is that the Noon is having an half surface screen. You will not see this kind of Noon with Idgham letters. And so when you see the Tanween like this, Tanween is going to look like this, and you will see a Domotini going to look like this. So you see a Domotini that will look like this. So this kind of Domotini, it's denoting Al-Idgham. And so when you have Al-Idgham, it means that you will pronounce the Tanween clearly. So you will see this kind of shape of letters or of signs in the Quran. So this one here, it's called Al-Idgham. I was trying to show that earlier. Okay, Al-Idgham. So maybe you've seen this or not. So this is for Idgham rules of the Tanween. And so the meaning of that you will pronounce the Ghunna in a reduced form. So the Ghunna is pronounced in a reduced form. So the Ghunna is incomplete. So we call it incomplete Ghunna because instead of you doing it's going to be And so there are 6 letters of the Quran letters that whenever they come right after a Tanween or a Noon Sakinah, it's going to be Idgham. The rule is going to be Idgham. So instead of we doing the Ghunna will be incomplete. Because naturally, Assalamu alaikum. How are you doing? How are you doing?
I'm good.
Good. Okay, excellent. Great to hear from you. So we took from where we stopped last week. Although it's already 15 minutes into this session. That is talking a bit. So we talked about Idgham. This is the first thing we're talking about. That when you see Tanween and Noon Sakinah, how do you pronounce it? We talked about Tanween last week. That Tanween is written, when 2, a short vowel sound like a fatha or a kasra or a dhamma. Anytime they are written doubled, you call them Tanween. So the same way Tanween is going to pronounce is the same way Noon Sakinah will pronounce in the Quran. right? Like you see this one, Ben and Ben. And so it's really important for you to know what this one is doing and how would you pronounce either of this, Noon Sakinah or Tanween. So we went to start learning the rules of pronouncing Noon Sakinah and Tanween. So the first rule that we'll learn today is Al-Idhar. So Al-Idhar is when you have any of these 6 letters. When you're reading the Quran and you see any of these 6 letters come right after a Tanween or comes right after a Noon Sakin. So we talked about Noon Sakin last week. These are what Noon Sakin look like in Quran. Noon Sakin is called silent Noon. That is to say the letter is silent. So a silent letter in the Quran is a letter that will have the sound silent or it will not even be pronounced at all. So sometimes you'll have a sukun. We have what we call a full circle sukun. You see that in the Quran oftentimes. We've had some lessons in the past that talk about this. So when you see a full small tiny sukun on any letter, it means that letter will not be pronounced. No matter what, the letter is cancelled. It's not pronounced. But sometimes you see this kind of sukun. It's called the half circle sukun. You see it on a word. What it means that the letter sound is going to be shortened. So the letter sound is shortened. It's not that it's cancelled out, but it's shortened, like you don't pronounce the letter fully. Or sometimes the letter will have nothing. They will have nothing. And so those are the 3 indications that a letter is silent. So this one means the letter will never be pronounced. So this one here, the letter will be pronounced what's shortened. The sound is going to be shortened. And sometimes the letter will have nothing, right? So when letters do not have nothing, there are a series of things you're going to learn of different ways of pronouncing them. But right today, we're talking about, Noon Sakin. When a noon is having nothing, so it's called a Noon Sakin. Or when a noon is having a half circle sukun, it's called a Noon Sakin. And so how do you pronounce these letters? And how do you pronounce Tanween in the Quran? So there are 4 ways that you'll be pronouncing them. The first way is called Al-Idhar. So Al-Idhar is when you pronounce, the Tanween and the Noon Sakin clearly. You don't add a gunna. So gunna, we learned last week, is the sound. So when you use your nasal, it's a nasal sound. When you pronounce and it only lasts for 2 counts, the gunna. But in case of Idhar, when you're pronouncing Tanween, that has to do with Idhar, and that is when a Noon Sakin or a Tanween like Fathateni, Kasrateni, Domateni comes before any of these 6 letters in a word or in the sequence of an ayah. You've got to do Idhar and pronounce the Tanween or the Noon Sakin clearly. Let's do an example. So let's say this is a word of the Quran. This is an ayah. We just kind of extract this for training purpose. So this is Sawiyan. Are you there, Abdul Qahar? Is Abdul Qahar there? Okay. Sawiyan ala. Right? So this one here, the Tanween here is on the ya. But because the ayn that comes right after the Tanween is a letter of Idhar, so when we pronounce this, we will say Sawiyan. So instead of say Sawiyan ala, you will not be pronouncing the Tanween fully because now we are having an ayn that's come after the Tanween, and so Idhar rule will take place. So the Tanween is going to be incomplete here. So we'll be saying Sawiyan ala. Are you there, Abdul Qahar?
Yeah, I am there.
Can you pronounce this word? This. Try it out. How will you pronounce it? I just pronounced it now. So this is a Tanween on the ya, but there's an ayn right after it, which is a letter of Idhar. And so because of that, the Tanween will be, the ghunna of the Tanween is going to be incomplete. And so instead of you saying Sawiyan ala, you're doing the Tanween, you will not do that anymore. Because this is now al-Idhar rule of recitation, then the ayn or the Tanween is going to be shortened. So the Tanween is going to be pronounced clearly without ghunna. So instead of you saying Sawiyan ala, it will now be Sawiyan. Sawiyan ala. Sawiyan ala. So there are 6 letters that will make us do that kind of situation to cancel out the Tanween that we're not going to pronounce them. And these are these 6 letters. Anytime we are reading the Quran and we see these 6 letters come right after a Tanween, or a noon sakin like this, you will not do gunna. The gunna of sound. We talked about the gunna last week. So gunna is a nasal sound. So here we'll just say sawiyan ala. Right, this is the tanween. Here we'll say more min hamim. Min hamim. You see, min hamim. So we'll not be saying min hamim. So that's the purpose and that's the reason why this will be pronounced as min hamim. I want you to pronounce this before we round up the class. Pronounce this one at the bottom here. Pronounce the one I circled there. Are you seeing it?
Yeah.
So pronounce this combination based on the rule of idgham. You see, this is a tanween, but there's an hamza here. Is a letter of idgham. So the letters of idgham are 6 in number. A ghain, when they come after tanween, or kha, or a, or ha, or a, or ha. So anytime any of these 6 letters comes after a tanween or a noon sakin, you will do idgham. So idgham is when you pronounce the tanween clearly. You don't do gunna. Do you know what gunna is?
Yeah.
So what is gunna?
Is it?
The nisa sound, right? I just said it now.
Yeah.
So the nisa sound that comes from your nose. So anytime you're having any of these 6 letters, so you need to memorize, okay, ayn, ghain, kha, ha, hamza. Anytime you have them right after a tanween, you know, this one is you know what tanween is, right?
Yeah.
Kasratayni, you know, fathatayni, damatayni, those are tanween. Or you have a noon sakin. This is a noon sakin, it's silent. So anytime you see a ghain, or you know, when any of those 6 letters comes right after a tanween or a noon sakin, you will do incomplete gunna. So try this. Try this one. This one is gonna be what?
Mu'tad asimin.
Mu'tadin. Say it.
Mu'tadin asim. Asim.
So the rule of stopping here, you will not. Asim. So you're gonna learn it once you join our program in November, right? So you learn the rules of stop or stop. So here now you will not say asimin. No. When you're stopping on the kasratayni, cancel out the kasratayni and give the letter a half circle sukun. So this is going to be more. This is going to be mu'tadin asim. Say it. Say mu'tadin asim.
Mu'tadin asim.
Asim, right? So read this one as well. Second one.
Min gislin.
Min ghislin. So there's a
gislin.
Yeah, so there's a yamad there. So you elongate the lam for 2 counts, right? And so the noon, you stop on it, you cancel out the kasratayni. So they are, you know, you have fatha, you have kasra, you have dhamma, you have sukun, you have fathatayni, right? Kasratayni, dhammatayni. Anytime you are reading the Quran and you see the last letter that you pronounce has a fatha, or it has a dhamma, or it has a kasra, or it has a kasratayni, or it has a dhammatayni, and you are stopping on that letter, you're going to cancel out all those. The only one that you will not cancel out is the fathatayni, and we're going to learn why and what you're not going to do on that one later on, inshallah. But when you're reading the Quran and you see a fatha on the last letter, you pronounce or you want to stop on, or a kasra, or a dhamma, or dhammatayni, or kasratayni, you cancel out those and you give the letter a sukun. The only one that you will not cancel out is the fathatayni, and there's a reason that we're going to learn that. You're going to convert the fathatayni to an alif, so don't worry right now. But the thing we're learning right now is about how to pronounce tanween, right? When you see them right after, right before a letter of idgham, 6 letters of idgham we have in general. And so when you pronounce a tanween or a noon sakin, so you will not do complete gunna. So the gunna sound is going to be reduced because of the letters that come right after the tanween. So of course, this session here is just to build the basics. And so we normally in our classes, so aside from this kind of session, we explain the concept. So we're going to have a second session on the week where you all going to be practicing reading the Quran and applying these rules. Yeah, we don't have that kind of session here, in this free class. So inshallah, so in November, you'll be building all the skills. And so when you start the class in November with us, you already learned some stuff with me here, and you can practice them with your reading right now, and also in the class in November, inshallah. You have any question, Dr. Ha?
Nah.
No. So do you understand Izhar, right?
Yeah.
What is Izhar?
It's a 6 letters, like you don't have to call it like how you call like the known as is it you don't have to like you don't have to use your own, you don't have to use own.
Oh yeah. So yeah, excellent. So you're gonna clearly pronounce the letters that comes because the letters that come right after the Tanween or Noon Sakinah, you have to pronounce the Tanween clearly. So you take away the gunna sound. So it's gonna be incomplete gunna, right? Sawiyan ala. So it's called incomplete gunna. So sawiyan ala min hamim mu'tadin athim min ghislin. Right, so I've already spent, I plan to spend 20 minutes, but I'll spend 26. So inshallah, we'll end here. And so inshallah, we don't have quiz today, and we'll be having next week, inshallah. So we'll be learning the second rule of Noon Sakinah, which is Idghaam, next week. And so we're going to have quizzes for those. So we have like 4 rules of Tanween and Noon Sakinah, 4 ways of pronouncing Tanween and Noon Sakinah. And in the class, I do teach the students this topic for a month. So we take each rule each month, each week. So we learn it, practice it, do homework, it's really in-depth practice of it. And so you will be doing that. So inshallah, next week we take another second rule of Noon Sakinah, which is called Al-Idghaam. And we have Idghaam. You know Idghaam? Okay, you know Idghaam?
Yeah, no. Idghaam,
Iqlaab, and Ikhfaa. Yeah, you know them by name, but we need to learn to practice and really put them to practice in the reading of the Quran. Inshallah. Okay, I'll see you later, inshallah, Abu Qahar. And assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Oh,